Hey everybody, today is October 24th, 2024. Today we're going to talk about the price of Bitcoin and where I see the price of Bitcoin headed forward toward the month of November. And before we begin, please read the disclaimer and you can pause the video as you read it. Okay, so where we left off last time was in late September over here. And I basically said that there was two things, or several things I was looking for. First is that I wanted to see us retake the 200-day moving average, which is this blue line, right? And so we basically lost that back in August when we had when the whole market crashed back in early August, right? There was the whole like Japanese yen carry trade that went belly up when the Japanese Federal Reserve, so the central bank, raised interest rates, and so there was a big panic, right? People were arbitraging the currency to basically borrow money at cheap rates and invest in the US markets, something like that, right? So we had this whole fear that recovered, but since then we had a hard time recovering the 200-day moving average, right? So you see we rejected here, rejected here, rejected here, and again rejected here. And so what I said in the last video, which is over here, I said that we first need to retake the 200-day moving average, which is this blue line. Then we need to take their local high, which is around 65,000 over here, right? We did that a couple days after I put the video out, but again we pulled back earlier this month. But since then, we've had this nice push up above the 200-day, and we've been staying above the 200-day. When I said that if we're able to retake 65,000, the next area was going to be this Fibonacci resistance level, right? Which we had trouble breaking through since we peaked early this year in March, right? So you can see how many times we've been rejected off this Fibonacci line. And again, just a quick summary, the reason why this Fibonacci line is important is that this line is the previous all-time high top, right? And I'll just get a cleaner chart here. You can see when you have a double top, that's major resistance, right? So we've been having we've been sort of consolidating on this level, which is both bullish because it shows that whatever selling there is being absorbed, right? The fact that we've held support at this level, we hold the 50-week moving average, it shows that there's enough buyers down here just to keep us from just plunging down again. But at the same time, the more we retest resistance, the more likely we are to break, right? So we're sort of like forming this nice consolidation period of around 8 months. It's sort of like this cupping pattern, and it should break out, just sort of like what we saw over here, right? Where we just consolidate for a couple months after an impulse move higher. Impulse move, consolidation, impulse move, and then consolidation, right? And over here is kind of like a smaller one with the ETF news, spot ETF, Bitcoin news, and a move higher. So I think that the fact that we're consolidating for so long means the next move is probably going to be a powerful move to new all-time highs, and so that's really exciting. Well, let's look at the daily again. So the fact that we've now taken the 200-day and we seem to be pulling back a little because again we were hitting this resistance level, that the Fibonacci, and this is a very strong level for the reasons I just explained. But even in the daily chart, the fact that we've been rejected since March also means that this might take some time to break through. So I wouldn't be surprised if we consolidate into November before trying to make a move to all-time highs, right? Which we're very close to. So the good news, we got the 200-day, we've reclaimed the 65,000 level, and now we just need to work on getting through to the 70,000 Fibonacci resistance level, right? And this is important because let me just get a clean chart again. We've been making lower highs and lower lows since March, right? Lower high over here and lower lows. And so this is technically a bearish trend that if we weren't able to retake, this is why I said 65,000 was so important, because if we can reclaim 65,000, then we're essentially ending the downtrend. And that's basically what we did, right? So the fact that we reclaimed this level, 65,000, and again, you can see how the bears tried to push the price down again, below the 200-day, below 65,000, but the bulls were able to push it back up. And now we have sort of this intermediary higher high over here and higher lows right over here, right? So we have a chance to reverse this trend and go higher, but we need to break above 70,000, right? Which is this major resistance level, and also, of course, the Fibonacci level, right? We want to make this higher lows, higher highs, and reverse the trend and just push up higher to new all-time highs. So that's what I'm looking at a technical for November. My prediction is that we're probably going to move sideways a little bit as we continue to struggle to break through 70K, but eventually we're going to break out, and it's going to be another higher high and higher low, and this trend will reverse. Now, just some clarification when it comes to the traditional markets. or I guess not clarification, some additional context, is that we have been making lows, new lows in terms of the CPI inflation, which is bullish because Bitcoin is considered a risk-on asset. So when the Fed lowers rates, as we get closer to that 2% inflation target, the Fed cut rates 50 basis points recently, and people are trying to speculate whether they're going to cut more again, right? People think that they're either going to pause or they might cut another 25 basis point. But it's really going to depend on if we're able to keep this trend going where inflation is going down and down and down, closer to 2%, right? So the next available data point is going to be November 13th, and next Federal Reserve meeting, right? We're going to see whether they're going to either pause or they're going to cut again. And if they cut again, that's probably going to be bullish for the market, the traditional market, and also for Bitcoin, which is considered a risk-on asset, right? So that's what's happening on the traditional markets and how that could affect Bitcoin. Let's move on to some of our chart indicators. This is a 2-year multiplier, right? So the way to read this is usually when the price is below green, that's usually a good time to buy. And I've been making videos for a while now, and back when we were down here, and I said, I don't give out financial advice, but I personally was buying out here, so it's ended up being a good decision. We're sort of in this like neutral zone, right? We're not overbought, we're not oversold. So if the price breaks out, the longer it consolidates, the higher this band will move to the higher, which gives us a higher potential bull market top, right, for the price. So you can see, it does seem like we're getting diminishing returns every cycle because the last cycle we didn't even break above this red line. We sort of like touched that, but no worries, because even if we get close to that red line, even if we don't break above, the fact that the high is at over 200,000, right? This suggests that we'll easily be over 100,000 for the top for the next cycle, and maybe even close to 200,000, right? So that's bullish. Now going to the price cycle top indicator, which is a relatively accurate signal for where the top is. You can see that whenever the line is above the orange line, the price is above the orange line, that's usually bullish, right? And when the orange line crosses above the green line, that's usually the time to sell. So obviously the orange line is nowhere near crossing above the green line. And this is giving us a potential top of maybe 100 and just below 115,000, right? And we sort of had some trouble struggling to stay above this orange line. Like I said, we need to stay above the orange line, right? And now we sort of like came down, retested it, and then pushed up higher. So higher lows, higher highs in the short term, but we definitely need to keep this pattern going to give us gives more conviction that it's going to continue higher, right? But overall, it looks very good. It looks very similar to what we've seen in the past, where we have a chance to break into new all-time highs. But the fact that the orange and the green lines are still far apart gives us a higher potential top for the next bull market top, right? Golden ratio multiplier, again, looks very similar to the previous bull market cycles, and sort of like in an intermediate term before we had the parabolic runs, right? So above the orange line but below the green line here and here, right? Before the parabolic rip up higher to above red. And the red is telling us that is 114,000, right? So if we follow the same price action as last time, then we should, in theory, rip up above 114,000, right? So again, given this chart is telling us that there's potential to move up even higher than we are now. And the last one I'm going to talk about is the price forecast tool, which combines a bunch of these different top and bottom indicators into one chart. And that gives you sort of like a visual representation of where the top could be and where the bottom is. So you can see how the price touched the bottom almost perfectly, right? And that called the bottom. And now we're moving higher, higher. We're sort of in this neutral territory, which again is befitting of sort of like the mid-cycle of the bull market, like over here back in 2016, over here back in 2020, and just like the 4-year cycle, 2017, 2021, and again 2025, right? 4-year cycle prediction is that we might have a parabolic run next year, and that might take us even higher. And the high bands over here is 164. This one is 150, 164, and so that's what it's telling us if we just move here now. But as the price moves sideways and maybe moves up, these bands will continue to they'll start to like move up as well, giving us a higher potential top, right, than it is currently now. So all of these tools are of course bullishly postured for the cycle, and of course inflation going down. It just sets up for a very positive, potentially positive 2025. So I do think that, I know a lot of people are bored that we've been going sideways for like 8 months now, but I do think eventually we're getting close to breaking out, right? I mean, this looks very bullish. we've held the 50-week moving average. Usually, if we don't hold the 50-week, we just plunge into a bear market. But we held that. It looks like we're cupping. You know, the bulls are absorbing every sell that the bears take on, or they try to put on the market, right? And eventually, we're just going to break out of this, in my opinion, to upside, because the more we retest these resistance level, right? These Fibonacci resistance level, the more we retest it, eventually we'll break above it. And again, we seem to be making higher lows and higher highs finally after many months of making lower highs and lower lows, right? See this, lower highs and lower lows, right? It finally seems like we're trying to reverse the trend now. So that's what I'm looking out for. So just a quick summary. Besides what I just said over the last 5 minutes, I do think that we're going to continue to face some resistance as we try to break through this very strong and important resistance level, the Fibonacci around 70,000, right? Which was the previous all-time high from our last cycle. But eventually, I think we're going to break through sometime in November and then move up to new all-time highs, either November or December. So yeah, but I'll definitely update you with more information based on how the price action develops going forward, and of course, where the CPI and how the Fed reacts to the CPI in terms of what they'll do with the interest rates. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like this video, leave a comment below, and subscribe for updates. Appreciate all your support. Thank you again, and have a great day.